Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I've had a couple of weeks out due to Club World Cup Fantasy, which was my first ever coverage on YouTube. I'm back and focused on FPL and UCL Fantasy for the season ahead. In my first ever FPL video, I'll take you through my potential chip strategy for the first half of the season. I'll also take you through my team selection and talk you through why I've picked those players, as well as potentially look at players that I can't fit in that I also like. So, without any more wait, let's get straight into it. So guys, this is my potential chip strategy. In terms of the triple captain, I have put later because there are so many good opportunities you could use it. Obviously, if you've got Salah game week 4, 14, 15, when he's facing promoted sides usually the best teams to target. They historically have been. You know, they were horrific last season, the season before. Just think you target them with captaincy, triple captaincy where you can. So I've gone for a game week 4, 14 and 15 with Salah. Obviously, that will be different for those who have Haaland and Salah or those who have just Haaland. But moving on into the free hit, again, that kind of is open as well. You know, there are plenty of opportunities for it. My preference is game week 7 when Chelsea face Liverpool. I don't like that fixture for my players. I'll own likely quite a few players in that game. Nottingham Forest against Newcastle. You know, I know Newcastle haven't had the best transfer window, but that is still a very tough game for Forest. There are also a lot of fixtures you can kind of target, including Manchester City, who play Brentford. There's so many more as well. You've got Villa who face Burnley, Man United who face Sunderland, and they've got loads of great new attackers. And Arsenal play West Ham. So as you can see, obviously, as you can see, a lot of great fixtures to target, some fixtures to avoid in game week 7, which is why I kind of like that for the free hit. Moving on to the wildcard and bench boost, they kind of go hand in hand, don't they? A lot of people are looking to use both chips early, or at least the bench boost early in game week 2 on Burnley assets. Now, as much as I like Esteve and Dubravka at their price, I don't particularly want to use a chip. I don't really want to bench boost them. That's not to say that isn't a good idea because they play Sunderland. You know, they could pick up points, but I don't really see that as maximising the bench boost. I just think, you know, the later you bench boost, the more information you have, the fixtures are better. You find more budget enablers as you learn more throughout the season. So I really like it. I also really like it because I can fix my team up with the AFCON transfers. You know, we get extra AFCON transfers ahead of after game week 15, so I can then kind of sort out my team if it doesn't look right. So there's a lot in, you know, saving chips till later on in the season. I don't really feel the need to kind of want to, you know, blow my chips super early with the bench boost and wild card. I think just knowing more, having more information, and having more assets to kind of maximize with those is probably the best idea. But that's me. Obviously, there are plenty of good different chip strategies. You know, we get chips on in both halves of the season, so there's a lot of strategies out there at the moment. But that is me so far. So in goal for me, I've got Robert Sanchez of Chelsea and Martin Dubravka of Burnley. Obviously, Dubravka did play for Newcastle as a backup. He's now joined Burnley, which makes me think, and everyone think, that he will be #1 goalkeeper. So at 4 million, he just feels like a no-brainer, you know, to just keep in there and use him whenever you need him. I doubt I'll need him that much, though, because I have gone also for Robert Sanchez. The 4.5 million goalkeepers are something that I usually really like every season, but they've just been really poor this season. Obviously, the pricing has been slightly different. You know, we've seen the likes of Jordan Pickford coming at 5.5 million, which is fully deserved, by the way, because he was the highest scoring goalkeeper last season. But yeah, the pricing is a little different. The 4.5s just aren't as good as they used to be. You know, you've got Kelleher playing for a really dodgy Brentford defence who have been kind of, you know, ravaged. They've lost Thomas Frank, they've lost Mbumo. And I don't really trust Hertzler's Brighton defence either. You know, Brighton didn't do well defensively last season. I just think with Chelsea, you know, they did well in the Club World Cup in terms of clean sheets. They got 4 out of 7. They also kept the clean sheet against Leverkusen, kept the clean sheet in the final of the Club World Cup against PSG. They kept keeping clean sheets against big sides. Sanchez is the safest route into the Chelsea defence in terms of minutes. You know, Cucurella is probably the only other nailed player. I personally don't know, even as a fan, if he's worth 6 million. He's in the box a lot, but I just think Sanchez at 5 is just a great solid option in goal. And I also really like the other £6 million defenders, which is why I kind of side in with Sanchez at the moment. Really happy with my goalkeepers. Really happy with Sanchez. I've not come off Sanchez since my first draft actually. So I'm really happy with him. Obviously, really happy with Dubravka as well. So my goalkeepers will very, very likely stay as they are. In defence, you can see that I've got the current highest owned defender in the game, Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Now, he managed 3 assists in his final 4 matches of the previous season. Now, although West Ham on one of the best sides defensively, in fact, I think they ranked among some of the worst for underlying defensive metrics last season, like total shots on goal and some others. I do think they'll improve this season. I think they won 2 out of the last 3 of last season's campaign as well. So showing some signs of improvement. I do think Graham Potter will improve them this time around. I don't think they'll finish as low as they did. So I'm expecting more clean sheets from them this season. But I think most of Wan-Bissaka's, appeal comes from his attacking threat, right? He's so advanced up the pitch. Like I said, 3 assists in his final 4 of last season. But it's not just that, though. He also rotates really well with another defender, Ezri Konsa for Aston Villa. We have to remember that although DEFCON's defensive contributions have entered the game, and we should definitely take them seriously, we should also still prioritise clean sheets. They're worth more points. Obviously, they're worth bonus as well. We should definitely prioritise clean sheets. And when doing that, Ezri Konsa becomes, for me, one of the best £4.5 million defender options. He plays for a strong Aston Villa side, solid side. Yes, they didn't do well defensively last season, but I expect them to improve massively this season in terms of total clean sheets. So extremely happy with that centre-back pairing, the defender pairing, of Wan-Bissaka and Konsa. Although I know a lot of people have gone for Van der Ven and, combined with like Richards or Gahey. So, there is that option as well. I think that option is slightly more boring than mine with Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but I think both are very, very viable options. Obviously, Esteve of Burnley, 4 million nailed in the Burnley backline. Burnley kept 30 clean sheets last season. Not sure that's relevant, but they can defend. Different league now, but either way, Esteve, is a decent option at 4 mil, cheap. He'll stay on the bench. I'm quite happy to include him. I think everyone owns him at this point. He feels like he's got 100% ownership, but. Moving back into my starting midfield, of the 6 million defender options, I do like Van Dijk. I also really like Jeremy Frimpong. Obviously, if depending on how long Conor Bradley's out for injured, I think, he could be a great replacement for Van Dijk. Frimpong has, assists, goals in his locker. We saw that for Leverkusen. But with Van Dijk, it's security of minutes, it's threat from set plays, goal threat from corners and free kicks. It's also DEFCON's defensive contributions. So I just think he's still a really, really fantastic option, albeit they didn't have a great pre-season. Nico Williams is the only one I'm not unsure of, but maybe one that I would slightly change, only to upgrade to one of his teammates if I had the 0.5. I'm really happy otherwise with Nico Williams, though. He's got attacking potential, DEFCON potential. He's also one of the cheapest routes into a very strong Nottingham Forest defence that ranked second best for big chances conceded last season. So Nottingham Forest are a very good defence, so I'm very happy with Nico Williams. If I find the 0.5 spare, I may go up to Milenkovic or Murillo, but for now, I'm quite happy with that backline. In midfield, you can see that I've gone for Mohamed Salah. I think you'll find him in most teams. Obviously, 300 plus points last season, the best FPL asset there has ever been, and doesn't really look like he's slowing down. There's a case that he's had a little bit poor in pre-season, or he's too wide and stuff. We hear that kind of every single season, but then he goes on to have an absolute fantastic campaign. So very happy with Salah. Easily one of the best captaincy options week in, week out. Definitely up there, or I would say the best triple captaincy option against a promoted side. So for me, he's an absolute shoo-in. Cole Palmer has never been in doubt for me either. He's been in my draft one. He's been there ever since. Chelsea's fixtures are fantastic. back-to-back 200 plus points for Cole Palmer. He's on pens. He's Chelsea's, main man and best attacker. There was some kind of, doubt around his open play output, and that was fair enough. That did happen. We can't forget about that. But also, his recent form in the Club World Cup, he got 2 goals and 1 assist against PSG. And, from open play was absolutely fantastic. Thought he was really good in the Club World Cup in general, to be honest. So for me, I don't think you can I don't think you can replace Cole Palmer. He is very expensive, but I do see him getting 200 plus points again this season. Now, you may notice an issue. I've currently got Morgan Rogers, who is flagged. Now, he did pick up an injury during a preseason match, but there's no confirmation suggesting that he will be out, or at least at the time of recording. If we see him train, I will likely start with him. I just think he's an absolutely brilliant asset. I haven't really taken into account the price rise over last season. I don't think it was relevant, especially because a lot of the 6.5 million and lower options just aren't convincing. Whether that be minutes, whether that be positional wise. There's a minutes example would be NDI, positional wise or output wise would be Kudus at 6.5 million. There's just so many doubts around the 6.5 million. So just to find the extra 0.5 to get up to Rodgers, I feel like Rodgers, you can just leave in for a long period of time and not have to worry about him. He's also got fantastic fixtures, which we can't forget, right? So if he is seen in training, he will stay there. If not, I will unfortunately have to look into the 6.5s. It will probably be NDI and will give me 0.5 to kind of move maybe potentially Nico Williams up to, Murillo or Milankovic, someone like that on, one of his teammates. Now, I've also got Anderson. Now, Nottingham Forest have got great fixtures. Anderson's got set pieces. He's got good DEFCON potential based on last season. Obviously, he hasn't got much attacking threat, which is why I'm also looking at Reinders. Reinders was fantastic for Milan last season. Playing deep for Man City means something totally different. He'll probably be in the final third for 70% of game time. So, and he loves a shot outside the box. So I will really consider Reinders right up until the deadline. But for now, I have gone with Anderson. He's safe. He's probably heavily owned among experienced managers. Set pieces, good fixtures. There's not loads to hate about Anderson, but obviously chasing the upside with someone like Reinders is probably more exciting to start the season with. So I will consider that. But so far, that is my midfield. So in my forward line, you can see straight away that I've got Ollie Watkins. He's been quite popular in pre-season, and I think a lot of that is down to the lack of options elsewhere. Obviously, Sesko at United's just joined, Gokaresh at Arsenal. The fixtures aren't great early on. There's a lot of strikers that just aren't like that convincing ahead of the new season. So I do think that Watkins feels like the go-to. 9 million feels fully worth his price. 5 goals in 5 preseason matches, leading the attack of a team we expect to do well, who also have brilliant first fixtures. So I think there's not a lot of essentials or shoe-ins or players that I would call very, very easy additions into my draft. But I think Watkins is definitely one of them. He has kind of become more and more essential, I think, as pre-season's gone in, as we've taken in more information, as we've learned more about the new signings and so on. So for me, Watkins has always been a lock. Gui or Gay or however you want to call it, he has just joined Sunderland from Chelsea. Now, I think there's a lot of doubt around his fitness early doors. There's huge doubts that he won't start game 1 and 2, which is absolutely fine. I'm going to dead off that spot. I would bring in another 4.5 million striker, but I just think that, Gay's got the most likely chance of playing minutes further down the line if I do need him at some point. I'm not bench boosting early. I don't need a great bench. So he can just stay there and just rot on the bench. Not rot, but, I'll bring him in when I need him, and yeah, I'm fine with that. Now, the third striker, I'm going to mention João Pedro last because it's not that I'm not sure about him. It's that there's not a lot of great kind of strikers around. There's not great. There's not a lot of great strikers in general, but around that kind of 7.5, 7 million. There's not many convincing. Obviously, Solanke's been a bit of a doubt. I'm not too sure he will even start against Burnley. Even if he does, how long will he play? Nottingham Forest, I think, have scored like 1 or 2 goals throughout the whole of their pre-season. They are looking very blunt. So Chris Wood has kind of become less appealing, although still a decent option, you know, strong minutes, strong fixtures, Pans, Leeds a fairly decent side. But with João Pedro, Chelsea are free scoring at the moment. João Pedro's actually scored in I think he scored in every single one of his features for Chelsea, all 5 of his features, or at least he's scored in 5 features. One of them he scored twice in. I think so. He's done really, really well for Chelsea. You know, he's settled straight away. He's looking like our number 1 striker. Yes, Liam Delap should come in now and again around the 60 to 70th or something like that. But you know, he's in such great form. The Chelsea fixtures are fantastic. So for me, João Pedro is in. Obviously, that may change towards the deadline. I still feel quite strongly on João Pedro. If it is going to change, it's likely to either go down to a much cheaper striker or go across to Chris Wood. So that is my front line for now. So guys, that was my FPL Game Week 1 team selection video. I do feel slightly rusty since Club World Cup Fantasy. It has been a couple of weeks, so apologies if there is any visible rustiness there. I'm really looking forward to Game Week 1 now. If you want to continue to watch more of my team selection stuff before Game Week 1, before the opening round, then I am hoping to host a live stream ahead of the Game Week 1 deadline. So if I don't see you there, I'll see you guys soon.
I'm saving